Wanted to do a quick update. It is Friday, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Much slower going day. Couldn't really sleep last night. Ended up just YouTubing and playing games all night, which is brutal. Tried to sleep, couldn't sleep, whatever it is. So want to give you guys a quick update. Y'all out there trying to be productive at the end of your week. I know it's 3 o'clock on a Friday, and you're so ready to go home and get out of work. Oh, we're already home to begin with, aren't we? Aren't we just already here? Well, those of you who are at work, thank you for being at work. And what can I say? Appreciate you continuing civilization. I've been painting this about 4 hours in. This is the Valley of Plenty cover for my friend Shawn Carpenter. And what are we thinking? We're approaching this drawing, this piece of artwork, with some fresh eyes after getting lunch and getting some coffee, getting some water hydrated, vitamin D, standing outside, breathing in the fresh air, getting some sunshine on our face. And what are we seeing? Well, it feels very muted to me right now. In this office where we have natural light coming in from outside, these colors feel kind of dull and they feel a little tired. What I have been doing since the last time is just getting my 3 levels of like light from the top, light from one side, rim, key, fill kind of lighting stuff in. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to just copy everything underneath of the timestamp, paste it into a new layer, and then take a look at my levels. So we're seeing by hitting Control L that majority of the colors are in the bottom 25%, and almost nothing above 60% here. So I'm going to crank this up just a little bit to span that all out. And then I might dial in around this middle gray area just to see how that feels. So if we crank that up higher, it starts to go darker, crank it lower, it starts to get washed out. I might just leave it right at the one spot for now. Up just a little bit to there. Now, what I might do is do this twice. I'm going to copy this layer again so I have a before and an after shot. Let's crank this up brighter. We're increasing color contrast in the foreground, and look how much different that makes. Big difference between before and after. But I like how kind of soft some of the background feels, some of the background colors here feel. So I'm going to turn this layer on, the one I adjusted, add a mask, and use my airbrush to paint in a mask across the top, something like just like this. So it's going to be using 100% of the background color and then a soft fade to the foreground area. And then we will vignette it just a little bit around the side. And if we go to that layer, we can see what that looks like. So just the bottom foreground areas are getting that color bump up, and then the background areas are staying the way they were before. This might be a way to get the look of some clouds floating over your scene. So let's try something different. I'm gonna go to this mask and reset it, and we can maybe paint just some areas using that technique, using the fan brush or airbrush, and then just blotting in some dark areas. So we just have a little vibrating light and dark happening. And this might look like clouds are going overhead, like you have some slightly lighter areas, some slightly darker areas. And that actually makes a nice little feeling to it. It's a little bit more vibration happening around the canvas. So let's see, before, after, before, after. So it's a little more dynamic, a little bit more interesting. We have like little pockets of light that are coming and coming out. And if you really like that kind of idea of some shadows or clouds moving over the top of this scene, you can lean into that some more. So maybe I would take my blue shadow layer, and we're going to create a whole new layer style, but I'm just going to use this soft round brush. Actually, you know what we'll do? We'll select some areas. Let's use the selection tool and just select some of these dark areas and draw like a cloud shadow like pattern. So it's going to be getting smaller in the distance maybe, and then bigger in the foreground. Maybe a shadow coming over this area. Maybe a shadow in this area here. And then, yeah, I kind of like that this area is part of that too. Let's see what that looks like. Maybe shadow here. Cropped in. Maybe a little over the middle of the town. So you can see all these selection areas, and we'll feather that selection. Let's try feathering it by like, yeah, let's try 10 pixels, so it's a little soft. And let's fill with that solid color. So imagine these are our shadows. Not bad. So it's a solid fill in the middle and with a soft blend around all the outside here. And what happens if I just turn that into a multiply layer? It's pretty dark, but we can see that there's these pools of shadow that are going across the scene, and I can drop the transparency down. Maybe like 23%, 30%. And you have the sense of there's some shadow objects kind of floating across this valley. And you can do like interesting animated stuff that way too. Like you can animate your layer if you wanted to do a GIF of these shadows moving across your scene. There's ways to animate that. But it would get a little complicated as the shadow goes over the building. It should really be changing shape a little bit. But that's how they might do it for an animated movie, having a separate layer that just darkens a little bit. So it's nice in Photoshop being able to turn off layers, experiment with whatever you're working on. It's kind of fun. What's the other thing we need to do? Flip the canvas. Let's take a look and see if it's balanced or not. So mid rotation, flip canvas horizontally. And this is another way to give us fresh eyes on the piece. So I'm seeing that it's very bright on the left side of the canvas here. It's clearly that's where the light direction is coming from. We have a good sense of light direction. And then the back side is actually getting really dark. So it's the whole canvas is kind of falling from the right towards the viewer where the child and or the children are, I should say, and the river flows from them out to the right. So this blue of the first kid is really being pulled downstream into this adventure. Maybe that color is a little too close because if you squint, it's like this is a long appendage, like a blue appendage coming off of the kid. So I might change his color. Really quick way to do that. If I just copy everything, Control C, Control V again, so we have a new layer to work on. I might just select his color costume. And just quickly Control U, hue saturation change. See if I can just change that color a little bit, if it makes it stand out, if it kind of changes the vibe on stuff. Like making him just maybe this purple color instead makes him feel a little bit more royal, a little wealthier. And do I bring the color down? That helps with the vignetting of it. It's kind of nice. So we might keep that purplish color for now, and I can paint in the little fixes around the edge, but at least it feels a little different than the river coming downstream. Another thing I could do is change his pose a little bit so it doesn't feel like this is completely evolving from him, like he's on a carpet ride or a slide or something. Could do something where he has his knee up. That might be better. So imagine, his friend to the left is going to be sitting Indian style, let's call it. His sister is sitting crisscross applesauce, and maybe this fellow has his knees up. This will be the background. What does that feel like? Is that cool? And we have an arm be coming around the knee. deltoid, bicep. And the foot's kind of lost in the grass somewhere. The leg, another leg over here. It doesn't really work. So what does that look like? It feels a little better. It feels a little bit more natural. It feels like it's less on that carpet ride water slide type thing. We're doing good here today. Had a nice lunch, had some stew that we made early on in the week with some baguettes toasted up. I think it's going well. What's up, people who are joining us? Thanks, Danielle. Very nice of you to say that. Hope you guys are doing well too. Good to hear from you. Mookie Mookie. The name's great, dude. Glad to have you on the stream. What else am I thinking about? I'm thinking this kind of bright corner is nice, but bringing our eye back over to the right side of the screen with that reflection of the sky in the river, but maybe it's a little too much. Let me just soften it down in a couple places. I don't want it to feel like a waterfall. I want it to feel like just the river is meandering away from us. You're going to see a lot more vegetation by the water's edge, so I think as the land approaches the water, it'll be more saturated green. Yeah, it's going to feel, it feels like a better border. And then maybe with just a little bit of brown where the dirt and the erosion kind of hits the edge of the water. We have to add little highlights where the water is being disturbed, maybe when it's moving around rocks or boulders or things in the river. We want to give these walls a sense of scale. Like right now we have some crops that we added to the background, be it some wine, some wheat, something like that. Having an occasional tree, even though strategically you probably don't want trees right next to your walls of your city, but having some kind of tree maybe just a little bit off but parallel might give it a sense of scale. Some of these houses give it a sense of scale too, especially doorways and windows. A window can be between a peephole and a giant, let in all the light kind of bay window thing, but still that gives a sense of scale. It's a loose sense of scale, but it's a sense of scale nonetheless. So I want to be refining and filling in some of these city streets. I'm not decided yet if the city street color makes any sense. Do I want it to be browner and dirtier, or do I want it to have this cobblestone gray? I haven't decided on that yet. The keep of this castle or city hasn't really been developed either. That would be the backside where the rich or the governing area of the city is, the most strategically strong point of the city. I'd like to do a little bit more with that. I want to do more with the tops of all these battlements along the wall, along with a walking path. What does that feel like? So there's some kind of high wall, and then there's some kind of low path type thing. Maybe some scaffolding. Like I have the idea that there's some scaffolding built here where workers are fixing and maybe repairing the front facade of this wall. Maybe there was some patch, maybe there was some damage from a fight. So everywhere on this canvas I want to make up a little story where what's going on here and what was the last thing to have happened here. Maybe the water line, this bit of gate is near the water, so it's exposed to more moisture and gets a little greener because of mold and water and moisture and stuff like that. Maybe there's some rocks. Maybe they piled in a bunch of rocks to give it a little bit more foundation next to the water, so we can make that all disturbed looking and darken all of that down. Right? We want to make sure we're in theme. Color scheme wise, we've established this blue steel color for looking up to the sky, and then there's the warm sunrise light from the left because it's flipped right now. And then we want to refine on the right side of the tree a little bit more. So that's what I'm thinking about this piece right now. Just wanted to give you guys a quick update about what's all going on. I might simplify the wall, so instead of being Great Wall of China, both sides being defendable, maybe it's a high wall on the outside and then just flat on the inside. So they're not worried about fighting the people inside of the city, just the people outside the city. We could experiment with that. Maybe it's a little simpler look. Yeah, it feels like it'd be simpler. A little simpler look there. And it could be double walled, it could be single walled. Might be a good time to look at some reference from the era. But feeling pretty good to me at this point. Might want to. I'm probably going to darken the hill on the left, cut in a little bit more cliff face. Thinking about the rocks and the walls here, and I think darkening this hill on the left will frame. Will add to that framing for the whole scene. I don't know what the final proportion of this image is either. I think we're pretty close to square here. For the book cover, it might need to go more vertical, it might need to go more horizontal, but at least we have a place to start from, and then adding stuff to the outsides and the top and side should be pretty easy now that we've made most of our decisions for color, scale, depth, perspective, character has already been made here. So thanks for checking in. Drew's writing in. Yes, I thought I might have missed you today. This is looking great. Thanks, Drew. Appreciate that. Okay, no problem. All the stream, if you miss streams, that's okay. Looks like my stream just cut out. All right, here it goes again. I'm re-uploading any of the things I've made streaming wise to YouTube also, and that YouTube channel is Turbo Symonds, Symonds, Turbo Symonds. So that'll be up there. You can watch those videos, and the great thing about YouTube is you can watch them fast forwarded. So I'm going for like 2 hours, and it can get kind of boring sometimes when I run out of things to talk about. So you can fast forward and skip ahead too. You can see, like, when I watch my footage back, I'll just like click, move 5 minutes, click, five minutes, click, and just kind of sample that process in high speed mode. Devin did an edit yesterday on the Art of Craftsmanship YouTube channel showing my process in time lapse, like showing it sped up, and that was really interesting to watch. So you can tune over to the Art of Craftsmanship channel and check that out. Thank you, Devin. Really good job making the edited piece. It was really cool getting that sweet note from your father thanking us for doing that. That was a great time. Yeah, Isaac was asking, doing an art chat. Yeah, man. He just messaged me. No problem. Okay, I guess we'll hang out here for another 10 minutes or so. Yeah, we'll hang out for 10 more minutes or so. Buddy Isaac wants to hop in. He's from California, so my early morning streams he was missing. It's all good. Very talented illustrator. Very nice, simple work. It's fucking on my Facebook, dude. Just go to my Facebook. Should be right there. All right, you got it. Sometimes you just got to do everything for people. Sometimes, okay, I'm gonna go to my Facebook page now. I'm gonna go to my Facebook page, and I'm gonna right-click and copy that video URL. Copy, and then link it to Dude Man. There you go. There you go, Isaac. Yes. Like I said, I don't have a ton of energy today. My plan today was to paint, eat some leftover food, and then play some Zelda with my friend Joe later. But it's a good day. A lot of people are calling in, asking what's up. It's like, hey, Tom, I see you drawing. You want to talk about projects? Yes, I want to talk about projects. Man, if I was just like a self-made, like rich dude, I have enough projects already just to keep me going for like years. But I gotta make that money someday. So most of what I'm going to be doing the following weeks, I installed 3D Max yesterday, and then the upcoming weeks, I'm going to be doing 3D stuff, modeling based on a concept I did at the beginning of this whole series of a distressed organic environment, some kind of portfolio piece that would work for multiple game studios, showcasing that I do 3D modeling and unwrapping as well. Turn unwrapping into a game. A little bit of animation. Do a little animation. It's weird times though. I mean, everyone knows that it's weird times right now. Man, I wish I did. I wish I saved a lot more before going into this. It's really like living for the now, because we're like children of the long summer, right? When, to use a Game of Thrones reference, Ned Stark is saying, like, you children of the long summer, you don't know what hardship is. Like, I wonder if that's like a weird kind of ironically timely warning for us millennials, people born in the 80s. We grew up at the end of the Cold War. We grew up in a time when the United States was completely supreme. And now we're seeing that, like, well, no, we're all back in this big boat together. You know, big blue marble that is the Earth has. Nature is violent. Nature is violent and conquering, and it will remind us from time to time who's the boss. Who's the boss? Well, nature's the boss. You know, it's amazing. You just look at like abandoned buildings that have been there more than 10 years, look how quickly they rust out, how trees and grasses kind of overwhelm it, animal life moves back in. Um, Nature is relentless, relentless. And this is reminding us of that. It's good to have a stash for when things can get bad. I was just watching this video about Taiwan, how well they've done with this pandemic, and the reason they've done so well is they had like MERS and SARS that were real bad for them. So they had laws passed that they were already stockpiling a month's worth of medical supplies for every hospital in Taiwan in reaction to stuff that's already happened to them. Now it's taking us a hard lesson, us being Westerners, Western societies, be it all of Europe and America and territories, that we need to do the same thing. We need to do the same thing. Stockpiling, domestic manufacturing of medical supplies. A lot of innovations coming out of it. Like, for instance, you know, necessity is the mother of invention, as they say, right? Mookie, I see your question. I'll get to it in a second. Necessity is the mother of invention. Like the global war on terror, terrible in terms of lives lost. A lot of progressive technologies in trauma care, trauma medicine leapfrogged ahead in terms of like bleeding, massive bleed stopping, and emergency, you know, gunshot and traumatic injury medicine has gotten a heck of a lot better. And first aid has gotten a heck of a lot better because of lessons learned fighting in urban areas in the Middle East. It's a shame. I feel terrible about like all the civilian and innocent lives lost and societies ruined. But hopefully you can point to one thing that came out of it that was good. Now, was it worth like $5 trillion of U.S. money and thousands of American lives and veterans, amputees with traumatic brain injury? No, I don't think so. But if you had to pull one good thing out of it, it was that, I think. So what's Mookie's question? So quick question about making a concept. Do you usually have all the information at your disposal, or do you pull it in as you go? It depends on the client. Sometimes the client will give me all the concept reference I need, but usually I spend a couple hours brain loading and looking at reference for stuff. This kind of scene I've painted many times before for different projects I've been a part of, so it's more stream of consciousness, stuff that I've already brain loaded into my mind. But I might get a couple pictures here or there, or look at Google Earth and go look at a really fun place that's got some great medieval or ancient reference. One place I love that has a ton of high resolution environment information is Malta. I think Google or Microsoft spent a lot of money to draw or fly a plane around and get photogrammetry pictures of Malta. So you can go to Google Maps, find Malta, do the satellite view. Let's just find like a little quarry or something. And we can go to 3D, and there's some pretty good 3D reference for drawing these anciently planned or like medieval planned cities that exist there. This is pretty cool. I don't know what kind of village this is, but this is neat. Right on the coast here, and you hold control, and you can bring the camera around, and you can see it's loading in this high resolution 3D data right now. And boy, is this cool. I just think this is freaking awesome. So as we navigate around Malta, maybe we see some modern stuff, see some low-res stuff. So this looked like this was some kind of old fort at one point. It's now a casino. It's pretty cool. Look at those rocks and those edges and stuff. And it feels pretty ancient to me, and then modified. I think that's pretty sweet. And there's all kinds of stuff like that, all over Malta, and I think like probably Crete and Sicily and those kinds of places all have that type of stuff too. There's areas of England, like probably you can go find some of the castles in London or Dublin or places like that. That will give you really good reference. If there's some kind of cool Renaissance era fort here, how neat is that? With these walls and battlements. Maybe the Knights Templar used to live here. Very cool stuff. Fort Riscol. That's something cool about Google too. It tells you what it is. Fort Ricasoli. Ricasoli. Fort Ricasoli. Very cool. So to answer your question, I do a lot of this stuff. Gathering reference from Google Earth, heavily used when doing Civ 5, working on 10 Crowns, a few of the other games I looked at. This is way cool, man. Look at, like, they cut into the earth to put these strategic reserves of oil inside of this fort. How weird. How strange. Look at this, like the juxtaposition of old and new. You have this pipe work and industrial buildings and stuff next to this old, it feels like Borderlands 3, like Vault Hunter kind of stuff. Wow, that's cool. It'd be neat to make a movie here. Dude, they should get like a James Bond set at this fort with these industrial drums in it. Kind of reminds me of The Rock, that war movie in San Francisco. Kind of war movie. It was like Ed Harris had a band of angry Marines that took over some chemical weapons and was holding the city of San Francisco hostage for $40 billion or something bit like that. Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery to the rescue, had to bust into Alcatraz and stop the terrorists. Pretty cool movie. Yeah, this is awesome. I should go do some more research about this place. Great reference for coastline, cliffs. Hopefully this is translating. I'm not moving too fast. What's up, Isaac? Isaac's in here now. Is this a personal piece? Is this a personal piece? Yes and no. It's like a pro bono kind of commission for a guy who I've worked with before, who's done some game design books. He might be tuning in. That's Shawn. So this is personal in that I'm having fun and learning about doing landscapes through the process of making and trying to improve my own portfolio and skill set. I'm sharing it because it motivates me, and I thought it might be a little bit of interesting information. Mookie's got a point. I think the problem that many of those millennials aren't able to save or prepare for the future. I think we could if we were willing to live at the same kind of quality of life that 1950s people lived. I think about that. My mom was born in the 30s, and I remember growing up and not having a cell phone or a pager, keep jobs around the house and living at home. Like I grew up in a pretty big home. I was fortunate and grew up in Connecticut. And my dad and mom bought a house that was good for like 3 or 4 kids and the 2 of them and grandparents to come and visit. So there was a part of my life when it was like 3 generations living in one home. And as a kid, that was a lot of fun. That was pretty cool, I think. But like today, the trend has been for everybody to move out and be independent and grow on their own because that's how you get to like leapfrog work kind of growth, I suppose. Like if you can do the Facebook thing, be Zuckerberg, get a house with a bunch of buddies out in the Silicon Valley and start a company of doing software, then you can like leapfrog and get to a lot of money really, really quick. Big risk, big reward. Like you need to put a lot more money down and then you get a lot more reward from it. Like I think our goals outstripped our means in a really big way. In my experience, I bought a house that was way more expensive than I could have afforded. And if it wasn't for the wealth of the generation that came before me, being able to lean on my mother to afford to get this place, along with, roommates that kind of helped me pay for the whole thing. Like, maybe the dream of being a young 20-something with a studio apartment in New York or San Francisco is just crazy, is just unrealistic. Like it doesn't add up. But being a young 20-something living with 2 or 3 people in Boise, Idaho, or maybe Michigan or Wisconsin, or I don't know, somewhere not at like the epicenters of wealth on the planet, but inland a little bit, Baltimore kind of has that where you can take like 2 or 3, 4 friends and get a row home and spend $500 a month for all you to live there. And that's what I had in college. And I kind of wish, I know it's more expensive now than it was back then, but I think it would have made a lot more financial sense for me to like have an older phone, go out less, buy less things, like do with technology I had instead of keep lusting after new stuff. I look at phones, like everyone feels like they need to have a $600 phone now with $100 a month plan on it. And that's just not something that people spent money on 30, 40 years ago. That's what I'm thinking of. I think just the expectations of what you're supposed to have in modern contemporary Western life are really outside of the means of most people to have a work-life balance. I learned a lot going to France, just being in France in 2012, spending about, I think we were there for 6 days, and my cousin lived there, and people just don't have the same amount of technology. They eat better, they walk around a lot more, but they don't have cars as much. Like more people living downtown, have smaller apartments, more roommates, less cars, better food, more time. And they're happier and healthier, I really think. Now, that's just a different culture than what we have here in the United States. Here, it's like whoever can take the biggest risks and get the biggest gains is really what's valued, not sustainable work-life balance. And I think maybe sustainable work-life balance might be one of the things that comes out of this stay-at-home uh, situation that everyone's finding themselves in, like making fun with what they have, and people aren't going to retail therapy, to fix their problems. I have anxiety. I'm going to go buy something. Like, that's what I did. I did a lot of that, to the tune of like $70,000, $80,000 worth of stuff. I just have in my house, technology, toys, tools, like just things that I don't need on an everyday basis. Some of those things are great, like 10 grand of it's like stuff I use a lot, like my TV, my Nintendo Switch, some of my basic home defense, self-protection kind of stuff, security kind of stuff, a couple appliances. But the other 60,000, 50,000, I might, cough that up to anxiety buying while I was working in the rat race for 10 years in game development. I think when I go back to that, it's going to be a wiser perception of um, you can have fun more ways than one. You don't need to spend a lot of money to have fun. It's better to have some really good friends and people in your life that you have a regular discourse with. And regular, depending on the kind of friend it is, it could be a daily discourse, it could be a weekly discourse, monthly, once or twice a year kind of discourse. And creating events for you and your friends or your network or your brain trust of people to keep that FaceTime and social interaction with. I think I learned that from watching Rogan. Like he just seems to be having such a good time having friends on to talk, make jokes, talk about the world, talk about philosophy, perception. Maybe for you it's religion. Maybe for you it's pets. Just talking about whatever you think is fun, and talk about, start the conversation with, I love this. I love this. I love X, and this is why I love it. I think that's an interesting subject. I think that's a lot better than I hate this or I hate that person. All right, that's just negative. It starts off from a sad place, and you're trying to fight your way back uphill after that initial. Start conversation this weekend with, man, I love the color yellow. I just think yellow is great. It reminds me of the sun. It reminds me of being warm. It reminds me of eggs. Fried eggs are awesome. I love eggs. Not all the time, but every once in a while. Real nice to have a fried egg. Some cheese, some onion, a little bacon on there. That's what I'm talking about. So I wanted to do a quick 30-minute video. It's 34 minutes right now. Thanks for hopping on, everybody. That's pretty cool. I didn't expect anyone to hop in. But hey, what's up? B's here. What's going on, B? We were just talking about COVID masks. That was cool before the stream. Yeah, anywho, what am I thinking about with this? I might just start expanding the canvas next, solve whatever's going on here, make sure my colors are consistent. Isaac, I hope things are going well for you out in Frisco. I know you're not supposed to say Frisco. In San Fran, or wherever you find yourself. Or wait, is it LA? It might be in LA now. I forgot. I forgot where you are. Out in the other coast. I love Isaac's drawings. We're gonna look at those real quick. What's your website? Isaac Orloff? Isaac? Something like that. Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, here we go. We're gonna look at his work and give him some praise. I love Isaac's drawings of vehicles. I think these are so cool. Great color. Love this exaggerated, tall, skinny truck shape. It's really fun. Feels like Hollywood or like Pixar or DreamWorks style animation, Nickelodeon. They stylized. Oh, that's cool. I like this building with the big trees behind it. So look at the color contrast, something I've been trying to talk about in the streams. It's desaturated in the back, and then you have high saturation in the foreground, high contrast areas like this golden yellow with the lights and the strong wood, the nice details. So you have detail contrast, color contrast, saturation, that all distinguishes this A-frame in front of the forest behind it. I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like it. I would like to see a little bit more blue in the forest behind here, like a little blue light coming from above maybe, so that blue and the orange bounce off each other, but still this is pretty darn good. And maybe he wanted just an orange and grayscale two-tone thing. Man, look at that landscape. That's awesome. I was in Yosemite over the winter, and boy, California nature is just something. It's just absolutely something. What else you got here, Isaac? Got some beautiful landscapes. Got some foggy San Francisco. Got some awesome stuff. Look at this rusty boat. That's so cool, man. Point Reyes, that's awesome. Very cool. Got some monsters. Yeah, got some lava monster, dude. Dude, I love those lava rock guys in Breath of the Wild. Zelda Breath of the Wild's got the big Inox, I think they're called. Is that right? Big walking dudes, great soundtrack, big rock robot kind of looking guys. Really cool stuff. So Isaac is a full-time illustrator concept artist. So he's just got way more, skills per life lived when it comes to 2D illustration stuff than I do. And it's cool to see, man. He's one of the guys that makes my Facebook feed better because he posts these little drawings and it just makes me happy. So there's a post that isn't someone complaining about politics and I get to see a pretty image. That's what I'm trying to do. I mean, I get political every once in a while. But this makes Facebook much better, seeing this kind of artwork. Way cool. So back to where we are, looking at Isaac's stuff, that makes me want to be a lot more angular and really cut some vertical lines and make some solid shape decisions here. Um, Man, there's some beautiful art I'm thinking about from Banner Saga, if you've seen that game at all. And Banner Saga's got some great illustrative work with lots of really sharp, clear decisions made. And my decisions here are all pretty soft. So that's what I'll do next. Cut in some harsher shapes and make this thing feel like samurai sushi dish. Less pasta all over the place, or Tom stew, which is just a mess. Just a mess of potatoes and beef and onions and salt. It's good. Just kind of bland. Same color, monotone. It's kind of brown and just gray. But tastes good. So sharp. I'm thinking about stylizing this up a little bit now that I've seen Isaac's work. Yeah, glad you popped on. Changed my whole opinion and stuff. 38 minutes. I think that's enough for today. Thanks for hanging out. Mookie's been making his own masks. Well done, dude. Well done. Stay safe out there. I think this COVID thing is going to be with everybody. So just prepare your immune system. You're going to get it at some point. Hopefully it's later than sooner. Taking a look at the environment worked on a control. Have I taken a look at the environment worked on a control? A little bit. I was just talking to another guy yesterday about that game Control, and I think I need to download and play it. I think my computer should run it, but I know it's one of those games that benefits from a higher end graphics card. I'm gonna look into that. When I finish Breath of the Wild, which will probably be another month and a half, then I'll probably throw Control on the list of things I need to play. It's good to play a little bit of everything. Man, I tried playing Modern Warfare, and I liked the single player a bit. I liked a little bit of it. The graphics were amazing. There's one level where you're an SAS guy, like a British special operations dude, and you're going into a house to clear a house. I thought that was a very effective level. But I don't like how Call of Duty changes the script on you. It really seems like the script writers are having more fun than the player is. it's kind of cliche the way that they have like the betrayals and the back and forths, and it leaves the player feeling stupid, not awesome, is what I find frustrated in that game. Uh, Half-Life, the Valve team does a much better job of making you feel like a hero who has all the right decisions, and that's what I want in my games. Whereas that game just makes me feel like I'm inadequate at playing it, like I'm bad at it, and it's not helping me get better. Just kills you and lets you try again. Kills you, lets you try again. Kills you, lets you try again. Until like by force you play it the way that they have intended you to play it. And then I'm just really bad at the multiplayer version my buddy Brian worked on, which was Warzone, and I got a lot of lag right now. I hope they fix the lag issues down the road. I'll re-download it, but man, I just threw my mouse and keyboard down after getting murked for the 10th time in a row. So hopefully that speeds up because I think that'll be pretty good. I've been waiting for what game is going to unseat PUBG in that space. I mean, Fortnite's probably here to stay. I don't know. I didn't play a lot of Fortnite, but I tried it. I bought it. I paid money for Fortnite. I actually loved the zombie mode where you and some buddies could like build a fort against zombies. I thought that was cool as heck. But didn't want to be randomly matched with 8-year-olds, so that got frustrating. Like the user interface got frustrating to me, but I thought it was a cool idea. So I'm looking forward what that next thing is. What's that next good battle royale game? And I think Modern Warfare Warzone is continuing this like evolution of that gameplay mode, and maybe I think they'll figure it out. Like a year from now, I think that game's going to be tight. But right now, Warzone's kind of like where PUBG was in beta, like an early beta. Still figuring it out, still working the kinks out. Thanks for hanging out for a bit. That was really fun. I'm going to keep drawing, and I'll talk to you guys later. Mookie has one more question. I'm hoping it scratches that X-Files itch. Yeah, X-Files was my jam. I love the X-Files. Mulder, Scully, super cool, dude. Would love more of that kind of stuff. And a lot of good TV out there I need to watch too. You got um, all kinds of great shows. Altered Carbon, it's kind of up that way. Man, Black Mirror, all kinds of good stuff. You guys take care. Hope you have a great weekend. Play some games. Let me know what you're playing. Let me know what you're playing, what you're doing to be positive out there in this time of crisis. Take care.